I'll never forgive my foster parents. I, 28, struggled through a difficult family life throughout my childhood. Both parents were alcoholics, emotionally manipulative/abusive and neglectful. I lived with my mom and sister most of my childhood as my oldest sister was out of state in college, and my father was working out of state and essentially separated from my mother. My father and I had the most strained relationship out of anyone in the family, besides maybe his relationship with my mom. Anyways, after years of severe alcohol and drug abuse, and months of doctors/ER visits for debilitating pain, my mom was finally diagnosed with stage 4 lung and liver cancer on Easter the year I was 17 and died 3 days after. At the time, I had a best friend who I was closer to than anyone in the world and who had supported me through my mental health struggles and family situation, often having me stay at their house for days as a refuge. For context, her family had a mansion and was extremely well off. She and her family visited me while we were at the hospital for my mom, brought me food, and let me stay at their house after she died so that I didn't have to face the pain and turmoil of going back to my house, dealing with my father as my only parent and attempting to gather everything in my room to move, as my father planned to sell the house ASAP. After maybe a week of me catatonic in bed, my best friend approached me with the idea of staying with her family long term, so that I didn't have to move out of state and deal with a new school and even more changes than I already had going on. I felt so hopeful and loved but also had a lot of fear in the back of my mind, probably due to the fact that I always felt like a burden to my parents, so how could another family take me on without it being a major inconvenience? What'll happen when they get sick of me and realize they don't have to let me stay? These fears were alleviated by the parents talking with me, assuring me I was welcome, discussing the practical and financial points with my father so that I didn't have to be put in the position to say I didn't want to live with him, and I felt very protected and cared for. They went so far as to adopt me and become my legal guardians, and even invited my sister to live with them as well, so that she didn't have to stress about finding a place of her own considering she had just turned 19 and had also lost her mom. Everything was fine for the first month or so, outside of a conversation about me not spending enough time with them / too much time alone and seeming ungrateful for everything they did for me. What? My mom literally just died? How should I be acting? Please note that I'm generally rather withdrawn, and during this time I was also going to therapy once a week, was seeing a psychiatrist and was on new medication, on top of school and extracurriculars. After that I attempted to be more present, began exercising regularly, and communicated more with other friends to try and show I was happy and handling things okay without relying on best friend too much. She told me before moving in, "Don't think this is just going to be one long sleepover. It's not staying at a friend's house, it's moving into one, so I'll need my own time and privacy, etc." Another family meeting was had when the parents decided I was upsetting best friend, their daughter. She was hospitalized during the summer after a severe attack, will not elaborate further, so once she was recovered enough to be home, she had to take things very easy, not strain herself, etc. Well, apparently me expanding my social circle and working on myself to try and be happy, like they wanted, was inconsiderate to the daughter, because she couldn't do the things I was doing due to her recovery. That made her upset. She complained to her parents, who sat me down to tell me not to upset their daughter as she was the apple of their eye. At this point I'm starting to understand I can't make these people happy no matter what my approach is. I do my best going forward to talk to and interact with the family, make sure best friend doesn't feel neglected, and take care of myself as best as I can. Best friend is often angry and upset during this period and doesn't want to talk, BC of the illness/recovery, so we drift a little bit. I think the 3rd or 4th month of living there, my sister got her and I tickets to see one of our favorite bands a couple hours away. We had a little road trip and had a fantastic time, getting back home around 2 to 3 a.m. Naturally, we plopped into bed when we got home and slept in a little later than we normally would. Around noon, I wake up to my phone ringing, and it's my sister. I ASM her, "What's up? Why are you calling me?" She says, "Hey, I don't really know what's going on, but foster parents are threatening to call the police on you. You better get up here." Absolutely bewildered, I climb the stairs to find the whole family in the kitchen talking about me. The parents tell me my father is on the way. They called him in all the way from out of state. Why? What's going on? They tell me they know I've been hurting myself. I haven't? For context, I did used to self-harm quite a lot, but hadn't at all since moving in with them. I tried to explain this to them but they brushed it off, saying they were going to have me evaluated, to get in the car with them and go talk to a doctor, and then if everything's okay we can go back home. I'm still so confused, but I go with them, hoping to clear up whatever they think is going on and get back to normal. They take me to a mental hospital to have me evaluated and committed. When sitting with the intake doctor, they used my past against me to paint a picture that I was unstable and dangerous to myself and their daughter. I'm sobbing and furious, wondering how they could possibly think this about me, how we got here, why they flipped. I try to talk to the doctor as calmly as I can and explain what's happening from my POV, but obviously, adults are going to listen to other adults in a situation like this, and they knew it. The mom went so far as to say I should be kicked out of the school district and not allowed to return. For what? I literally had not done anything. I had all of my things taken away from me and was committed for an entire week. I could only contact my foster parents, my sister, and my best friend from a central telephone once a day, and then they removed the best friend from my contact list, so I could no longer talk to her at all. When I was finally released, I was instructed to have no contact with my best friend at all, and lived in a hotel for a few weeks with my father while he prepared to move me out of state with him. I learned that while I had been committed, they made my sister and father clear out everything of ours from their house, and even went so far as to place sticky notes with stays on any furniture of theirs that they had let me borrow but wanted to ensure we didn't take. They gave them a time frame and said if they weren't done by X time, they would call the police. They also took care to cut their legal ties to me through their lawyer, so they could just wash their hands clean of me. I was then forced to move several states away, even though my sister tried to adopt me so that I could stay with her. I lived with my father for a few months, until I turned 18, and then I moved back to my state to live with my sister and go back to the high school and friends I loved so much. The mom tried to talk to me once, at a school event, but I just turned away from her like she wasn't there. There was more drama with me and the daughter and we had a huge falling out after high school, which was probably inevitable. But 11 years later, I'm still so hurt and affected by this situation, and I don't think I'll ever forgive them.